Good evening, gardeners. This is the DC Beltway Gardener in Denver, Colorado. It is Sunday, June 22nd today, and we've had some really warm weather, actually hot weather, right after our monsoon season, which we really don't have a monsoon season, and the garden has really taken off. So why don't I spend a couple minutes kind of show you what's growing here. Denver, Colorado, 6,500 feet. First of all, these are my cold frames. I use a square foot method. That's Mel's mix in there. These basil are not growing very fast. I don't know why. I side dressed to compost just in case they need another boost, but they really seem to be not like they were last year. So I wonder if I just need to compost heavily over the winter and then try again next year these things. So one thing I did find is once I took the covers, the polycarbonate panels off of the cold frame, that my onions really undyed themselves. That's not really a word, but they're undead now and they're growing. These are my red onions. I can see some red there, so they did not like to be sweltered under the panel. All right, let's enter the garden. We'll start from the bottom with the garlic. I pulled not less than 50 scapes off here this morning. So this is looking pretty happy. These Montanas, you know, I'll get one big one. We'll see what they look like, but I'm really happy about these Italian reds. When you're growing garlic, when you have 3 leaves dead, it's ready. Sometimes I just let it go all the way down, but we're probably a few weeks away from harvesting these. Sometimes I harvest them because I think it's grass when I pull the weeds. I am going to try to see what happens when I let these scapes go to seed and get some bugles. So I marked them with some tomato tape. I must have just missed this one, just to experiment and see if I can grow garlic from seed. So I picked a few. I've got some Chesauk red really in the middle. That's Italian red at the end. My Pahosky purple only likes that side of the garden bed. The purple Duganskis are pretty big. Maybe I'll do those again. Those were working in Virginia. I see what I'm talking about, right? I got all these in the hay, the grass. It's constant weeding. More Pahosky purple. The German reds, they're doing okay. Maybe I won't do those next year. And the Chesauk reds, which are our favorite. Favorite because they grow. That's one way to be a favorite. Okay, we'll start with my snap peas. These are Bizarro snap peas because for some reason I thought they were going to burn up when it was 90 degrees, but they were like, oh man, now it's time. So these guys don't know where they are, what climate they're supposed to be in, how cold they're supposed to like it. So all the power to you, snap peas. I've got my French breakfast radishes here. I'm surprised how slow it took for them to grow here, about 2 months. But I'm getting some and I reseed them after I pick them. I did put beets and carrots to make like these circular raised beds for roots. It didn't really work, but I have potatoes. These are volunteers from last year. They just were around. Just like over here, and I'll have to look up what disease this is. It doesn't look very good. This is my in-ground area here. I just put some tomatillos. I got some marigolds coming up. I put zucchini all the way around. I probably overcrowded it. So we'll see if this works. This is like a one waffle garden. I just put a indentation in the middle, and I actually I think this came up from seed, or this bean did over here too. There's a bean in there. But maybe I'll get a whole tomatillo bush right here. So originally I had the rhubarb, the sunflower volunteer, this perennial, this daisy. I put an anasazi bean in the middle with some squash, and I expanded this mound here and put some tomatoes. That's a sun gold. And I'm going to trellis it up the twine. Same thing with these three. Looks like a big black cherry, Beams yellow pear, cherry bomb, and Mexican magic right here. So now that's twice as big. I don't really have any more room to go over here. Maybe I'll expand out that way next year. Or I could make plans so easy. All right. Potato bags. I also added some anasazi beans in the middle. One of them is doing fine. The other one's not so fine. Really excited about those. I put in another 4x8 bed, and the kit for the cover, the vendor, I won't name the garden vendor, although you may have just seen a label, sent me the wrong size cover. So I'm working with him to try to get the right size cover. But the idea here was to kind of have a pepper 4x8 bed. There's a jalapeno in there, something I started from seed. I threw some Japanese zucchini over there, put some squash and some kale just to see if it'll live. So, I have a lot more space than I did last week. That was a project. Okay, let's check my tomato planter. I should have opened this before the video. I didn't. They love it in here. Look at this. So I took out the side shoots for the past couple days. I cut the bottom leaves. I'm going to trellis them up some twine here. But these guys love hanging out in this enclosure. So come on, tomatoes. All right, big project. I got my hailcloth up. The way I did it is I found these clamps at a home hardware store, and I used some metal wire just to kind of go between the 2x4s I have here. And then I have the tomato trellis on twine. So we're all protected by hailcloth. We'll see if it works. One thunderstorm came through and I set it up about one week ago, and it survived. So I have quite a bit of radishes. I'm gonna try to find the carrots are coming up. Look at that. I thought they were dead, but they're not. They're coming. A lot of radishes. I use radishes as the border, and I put the carrot under the radish. So we'll have to harvest these here soon. Very excited about how these tomatoes are doing. Once it got 90 degrees, they were loving it. I made some pepper pots. I cut out the bottom of these plastic pots here and sunk them into the ground. They're behind my hailcloth. I need to get another structure or something over here to make that better. So 2 peppers per pot. I finished my trellis for the cucumber. So I just have some 2x2s. I installed the trellis. I stretched this nice netting I really like. And hopefully those cucumbers will find their way up there. Maybe I just need to get another net. But essentially, I've got that trellis for the netting and the hailcloth over it. And we'll take another view obviously facing west, right? So I don't think it's going to shield too much sun. I think it's just right for these guys. I think I see a difference. I should have put the twine in about 2 weeks ago, but every time. So I have a garden staple down there. The twine goes all the way up to these metal wires, and then I have the clamps there for the hail claw. The difference over there is I just used a 2x2 as a big wood staple and screwed it right on there. I have a cucumber hanging out, because why not? And we'll see. Feeling pretty good. All right, waffle garden. This is really cool. This really expands my growing space. I was wanting this to be successful. I got things started under this yellow mesh permeable. I love that stuff. So as you can see, I have a sunflower, corn, beans, and squash everywhere. I had to wait to weed because I couldn't figure out what was corn and what was grass. So now I know. So that is just so cool. This is my other waffle garden. That's 10 spots, another 10 for 20. I've got some tomatillos here at the top. I just put these shallots in here. I should have done that like a month ago or so, but now they have a home. And I have peppers, and there's sunflowers around the peppers coming up. I installed some mulch, so I placed a walk, keep the weeds down. So I don't know how many tomatoes are going to die in that spot, but you know, we'll keep trying. I've got my potatoes in here. I have, I think these are bush beans, no, these are anasazi. The bush ones are over there, I think. I've got some corn and potatoes, some marigolds coming up. Very cool. So instead of the one waffle each, I just did a big waffle row right there, and things are working. Same thing over here. I've got some potatoes, and I just made a big row of squash. This is going to be another Four Sisters thing. You see the beans coming up. They come up pretty fast, so keep in mind next year. So really with that, I've got 40 spots right here full of veggies. This is my sweet potato corner. This is this is my sister-in-law's sweet potato that she had in the kitchen. I made slips out of it. I'm gonna just put the whole thing in the ground now, but I've got sweet potatoes in bags, and I've got 4 squares of sweet potatoes. And then finally, the last addition to this garden is my, this will be a wildflower and sunflower bed right here. I just finished it today. So I took the old potting soil, I had some pots from last year, I threw some compost, some garden soil, and I have a wildflower mix and sunflowers, and maybe it will grow. So thank you for coming with me today. My garden tour. Predictably, I'm pacing around this thing, waiting for stuff to grow. It doesn't work like that, but you know, it's just neat. Forgot to show you my eggplants here. Very surprised about those. So, like and subscribe. It really helps. Let me know what you're doing in your garden. Thank you for joining me on my garden tour. And have a great week. Happy gardening.